Holding a tablet written thousands of years ago and being able to read its message is an extraordinary feeling. For over a century, one such artifact was nothing more than a broken clay tablet gathering dust in a university archive. At first glance, a cuneiform tablet is not something you would immediately recognize as writing, but when AI finally decoded this one, everything changed. This 3,700-year-old Babylonian artifact didn't just rewrite history, it sent chills down the spines of every expert who saw the results. What it revealed was not a myth, a story, or a prayer, but something far more advanced and unsettling. This is the story of Plimpton 322, the ancient Babylonian tablet decoded by AI, a discovery that may be one of the biggest historical revelations ever hidden from the world. Unearthed in the early 1900s from the scorching sands of southern Iraq, among the ruins of long-lost cities and crumbling ziggurats, the small cracked clay tablet seemed unremarkable at the time. Roughly the size of a pocketbook, inscribed with unfamiliar wedge-shaped cuneiform markings, and missing some of its corners, it looked like just another remnant of Babylon's forgotten past. Its discoverer, Edgar Banks, an archaeologist, antiquities dealer, and the real-life inspiration for Indiana Jones, had no idea what he had uncovered, and neither did anyone else. Eventually, the tablet was sold and found its way to Columbia University, where it was cataloged as Plimpton 322, part of a collection donated by George Arthur Plimpton. For decades, it attracted little attention. Yes, it was ancient, but its meaning was obscure. It wasn't until the 1940s that historians began to suspect the tablet was not recording a king's triumphs or trade inventories, but something much more curious. It was calculating. The strange sequence of numbers etched into its 4 columns and 15 rows was not random at all. Instead, they resembled solutions to right triangles, following the exact pattern of what we now call the Pythagorean theorem. The square of the hypotenuse equals the sum of the squares of the other two sides. This revelation was stunning. As the Babylonians lived around 1800 BC, more than 1,000 years before Pythagoras. How could they have known this principle so long before it was discovered in Greece? At first, scholars dismissed the connection as coincidence. After all, the Babylonians were thought to be skilled only in basic arithmetic and record-keeping. But the closer researchers looked at Plimpton 322, the harder it became to deny. The numbers were too precise, too consistent. Yet for nearly a century, its true purpose remained a mystery. Scholars debated whether it was a list of exercises for scribal students, a reference sheet for builders, or something else entirely. The missing portions, chipped corners, erased rows, kept the full story just out of reach, leaving only fragments of an answer. Open to challenge, Plimpton 322 drifted back into obscurity, known to math historians, but largely ignored by the wider world. That would change when a new kind of mind began to study it, not a human one, but an artificial one. The tablet's rebirth came not from a dusty archive or a forgotten museum drawer, but from an Australian mathematics professor named Daniel Mansfield, who stumbled across a photo of it while designing a curriculum for high school teachers. Like Edgar Banks before him, he sensed the tablet was important, but this time a new tool was available: AI. With machine learning models capable of scanning, reconstructing, and interpreting ancient scripts and numerical data, the cracked clay tablet suddenly came alive. Algorithms filled in missing sections, spotted hidden connections, and proposed translations. What they revealed was enough to make experts rethink not only the tablet's purpose, but the timeline of human mathematical history itself. What once looked like a fragile relic was actually something far more sophisticated, something that didn't seem to belong in its time, something that could change how we understand the evolution of human knowledge. The disturbing part wasn't just what it suggested, but how precise it was. For decades, the numbers on Plimpton 322 sat in academic limbo. Scholars agreed they meant something, but what exactly remained elusive? Inscribed in base 60, or sexagesimal, the Babylonian numerical system, the tablet's 15 rows and 4 columns of figures were partially eroded, leaving key data missing. At first glance, it resembled an accounting record, perhaps related to grain storage or temple inventory. But the structure was too deliberate, too orderly, too mathematical. In the 1940s, Researchers made a breakthrough that changed everything. The numbers weren't random at all, but matched what we now call Pythagorean triples, sets of whole numbers that satisfy the Pythagorean theorem. Plimpton 322 contained not just one such set, but many, arranged in a deliberate sequence. This discovery shocked historians because it implied the Babylonians understood right triangles over 1,000 years before the Greeks. And these weren't rough guesses. The triples were mathematically sound. Some scholars suggested the tablet was a teacher's guide for training scribes. Others thought it was a reference tool for builders or architects. Still, no one could fully explain why these specific numbers were chosen or what their exact purpose was. The missing corner complicated matters further, erasing rows and columns that might have held the key. Without them, every explanation remained tentative. Some argued the Babylonians stumbled across the triples through brute force arithmetic without understanding the underlying geometry. Others insisted the pattern showed deliberate and advanced mathematical reasoning. Adding to the mystery was the format. The Babylonians used ratios of side lengths rather than angles, a concept that wouldn't appear until the Greeks. It was like having the solution to a puzzle without knowing the rules. For decades, Plimpton 322 lingered in scholarly limbo, clearly. Sections of the tablet with machine-suggested values. But even skeptics admitted that the results displayed an undeniable internal logic and mathematical consistency. It fit too well to ignore. And if the Babylonians truly had invented a trigonometric system based on exact ratios, independent of angles, then this wasn't merely an ancient math exercise. It was evidence of a civilization whose grasp of geometry could rival, or even surpass, what had long been assumed. AI didn't just solve a puzzle. It revealed a version of history that was brilliant and deeply unsettling, raising a haunting question. If they could achieve this, what else might they have known? What began with a broken slab of clay was now rewriting history. After AI-assisted reconstruction filled the gaps, Plimpton 322 could no longer be dismissed as a curiosity. The numbers aligned perfectly as part of a functioning trigonometric table, not one based on angles, sine, or cosine, but on clean ratios expressed in base 60, free from the approximations and rounding errors of modern trigonometry. Reports suggested that the accuracy of these calculations surpassed even what today's high school textbooks provide without a calculator. This wasn't coincidence, it was deliberate design. The rows were ordered with precision, their ratios sequenced from steep to shallow, making the tablet resemble a practical reference guide for builders and surveyors. It wasn't basic arithmetic, it was a fully realized mathematical tool. Repeatedly, researchers described the discovery as absolutely insane, because that's exactly what it was. A 3,700-year-old tablet decoded by AI that turned out to embody a system far ahead of its time. The fact that it had sat unnoticed on a shelf at Columbia University for over a century only made the revelation more jarring. Imagine it. While most of the world in 1800 BC was still navigating early metallurgy and tribal governance, someone in Mesopotamia had created a portable tool capable of describing right triangles with astonishing precision. A buried civilization had, for a fleeting moment, peeked into a mathematical future we long attributed to the Greeks. It hadn't belonged to them after all. So when headlines declared, 3,700-year-old Babylonian tablet decoded by AI reveals terrifying truth, they weren't exaggerating. It wasn't terrifying because it posed a threat. It was terrifying because of what it revealed about us, our assumptions, and how much history we may have overlooked. And the story didn't end with Plimpton 322. As Mansfield and others noted, when paired with another tablet, known as C.427, a Babylonian field plan used for surveying, the picture of ancient mathematics grew even larger. The picture that emerges is of a civilization not only capable of abstract mathematics, but also able to apply it to real-world problems with a level of precision that should not have been possible for its time. That's what AI hadn't expected to uncover. It wasn't searching for lost knowledge. It was trying to solve a mathematical puzzle. But instead, what it revealed was a system intentional, structured, and repeatable, embedded in a crumbling piece of clay. We often speak of ancient wonders in terms of monumental architecture, pyramids, ziggurats, stone circles, but this was different. This was invisible, quiet, hidden in symbols and numbers. It took nearly 4 millennia and the aid of artificial intelligence for us to even begin to grasp it. And even now, the discovery leaves us with haunting questions. Did the Babylonians develop this system entirely on their own, or was it passed down from an even older culture? How many more tablets like this might still be buried in museum basements, waiting for someone or something to see them in the right light? Plimpton 322 is terrifying not only because of what it contains, but because of what it suggests we may already have lost. Enter C.427. While Plimpton 322 stunned the world with its theoretical brilliance, another Babylonian tablet quietly reinforced the idea that this wasn't just math for math's sake. It was applied. That might be the most chilling part. Known as C.427, and dating to roughly the same era, around 3,700 years ago, this tablet wasn't discovered in a temple or library, but in the context of a legal dispute over land. Unlike Plimpton's grid of numbers, C.427 contains a diagram, a literal map of a field etched into clay, complete with annotated measurements and notes. It resembles something a modern surveyor might draft when defining property boundaries. Only this was created centuries before geometry even had a name. At first glance, it looks mundane, just a field plan, but closer inspection reveals it as a geometric design, complete with right angles, proportional measurements, and a sophisticated grasp of spatial relationships. Whoever made it was using mathematics not to speculate, but to solve disputes, define ownership, and settle matters of law. That places Babylonian mathematics not in the abstract world of philosophy, but in the very practical domain of governance and power. And here's the unsettling part. The creator of C.427 would have needed a reference system, a way to understand how lengths and angles related. Plimpton 322 fits that role perfectly. One tablet served as the theoretical tool, the other as its application in practice. Daniel Mansfield, the researcher behind the AI decoding of Plimpton 322, sees C.427 as the missing link, a critical piece of evidence tying the puzzle together. If Plimpton 322 is the calculator, C.427 is the blueprint. Together, they reveal intentional use of geometry in the service of law, land, and society. That realization is not just impressive, it's deeply unsettling. A civilization nearly 4,000 years ago was using advanced mathematics to define legal ownership, blurring the line between intellectual achievement and societal control.